vibe already. I can't wait to celebrate the Christmas celebrations with you. Compliments of the season. I'm so excited to be back. Last week I was totally under the weather, completely under the weather. It was terrible, but I'm glad to be back in good health and here reunited with you. So let's jump right into the conversation. We have 30 minutes on this hour. Let's talk about parental alienation. That's something, in my opinion, we do not really talk about as much as we should. Parental alienation. You find that when a man and woman come together as husband and wife, they get married, begin to build a home, they have a picture in their head of the kind of life they want to live together, the kind of life they want to create together. You have a child, you have 2 children, you make 3 babies. And for some reason, maybe, maybe domestic violence, maybe any, I don't know, it could be anything, irreconcilable differences, could be anything really. For one reason or the other, the marriage has to come to an end. In some cases, you find that either the husband or the wife choose to use the children against the other spouse in a case of divorce or separation. A quick example will be what is going on right now. I'm sure you have been following the story of the estranged wife of Chief Femi Fani Kayode. She's a former beauty queen, Precious Chikwendu. She has been on social media, quite vocal, I must also add, in her quest to, gain access to her 4 children. According to her, Femi Fani Kayode has refused her access to her 4 children, who are all toddlers. And she says that, this is in a bid to, hurt her, traumatize her the most, because they're undergoing, marital crisis. They're not together anymore, really. But she says she doesn't have access to the children. It caused quite a stir last week. We could find the likes of Kate Henshaw, the likes of Mercy Aigbe, Nollywood stars, Funke Akindele Bello, who came out to lend their voices. Celebrities like Obi Franklin also came out to lend his voice in saying, look, you do not use a child as a weapon against your spouse or estranged spouse. So I thought to look into this, and you would find that this is a common phenomena in the world, not just with us here in Nigeria. Parental alienation is an attempt to isolate your child or children from the other parent. Now, whether the reasons, come from the parent or they come from external factors, no parent has the legal right to keep a child away from the other parent, even if there's a court order that requires such. In fact, in many cases, you would find that there is a court order that requires for the other spouse to have access to visits, to have visitation days. But it's a thing, not just here, but across the world. You would find that in most cases, 8 out of 10, by my estimation, you find that many times it's the women who restrain their estranged husbands or partners from gaining access to the children. In some cases, it goes extreme, this alienation. It goes pretty extreme, where you find that when the children begin to comprehend and are becoming of age, that these parents whom they live with or have custody over begin to incite them against their father or mother. So they begin to poison their minds. So you see that's why you see in many cases some children begin to perceive of their father as being a bad man or being an evil man, or perceive of their mother as being a witch or being a wicked woman, just because their minds have been poisoned. That's another extreme case of parental alienation. That's when the children are of age. But when the children are still toddlers or underage, you find that in most cases you choose to prevent your husband or your ex-husband from visiting his children, from having access to them, having moments with them, being their father, being in their lives. Why has this become such a phenomena as it is today? It has become so accepted to the point that we do not even bat an eyelid when such a case happens. I'm thinking to myself, if this did not involve a public personality like Fani Kayode, or if she was a nobody, for instance, will this have gained and garnered the kind of attention it's garnering now on social media? Questions. But the big question on this hour, really, I want us to talk about is, how do you deal with a partner that prevents you access to your child or your children? These are some things you do not see before you say I do to get married to this person. You're still in the lovey-dovey stage. Oh, I love him. He buys me gifts. He pampers me. He treats me like a woman. Or, oh, she's an amazing girl. She makes me happy. She supports my dreams. You don't see into the future to see, oh, if anything goes wrong, will she prevent me from having access to my, I mean, these are things you do not see. We do not have that much of a foresight, so we cannot see that. So when you are faced with the reality of a partner who, for some reason, no longer is in your life the capacity of a partner, maybe because of abuse, emotional, psychological, or physical abuse, or irreconcilable differences, infidelity, whatever it is that causes marriages to crumble these days, it happens and your marriage crumbles. But you have children together. That means you have to some way develop a coping mechanism to co-parent even though you're not together. How then do you deal with a partner that says, you know what, I'm going to show you Pepe. I'm going to deal with you. Let me see how you're going to come and see your children. Since you think that you're a hothead or whatever it is that people say these days, how do you deal with such a partner that prevents you access to your child or your children? What would you do if you were in such a case, a situation? The phone lines are open, so let's talk. 0817-923-0002, 0817-923-0003. You can also call 0817-923-0007 or 0817-923-0009. Those are the numbers that you can call. We're also on WhatsApp. The WhatsApp number is 0809 030 6416. That is 0809 030 6416. And Facebook, we're streaming live at Nigeria Info 92.3 PH. So you can go on there, watch us live as you drop your comments and join the conversation. Remember that when you do call, to turn down the volume on your radio. Good afternoon. Oh dear. Please do well to call back. On WhatsApp, once again, it's 0809 030 6416. So you can join the conversation on WhatsApp as well. Why? Let's maybe take a closer look into the case of, Fanny Kayode's estranged wife and her pleas. I watched most of her, Instagram live and some of her videos that she posted as well. In some she was crying, in some she also stated that some of her children, one of her sons was not in good health as there was an injury on his head. And you know how traumatizing that might be for a woman, a mother who has not been given access to her children. Now, looking closer at this case, you would find that, the court had served papers demanding for her to gain access to the children, but for some reason, she claims that has not been granted. We'll talk about that, a little bit more deeply and how, the law plays a role in parental alienation as well. But let's get to the phone lines now. Good afternoon.
Yeah, Daddy. Greetings to you.
I wish you're saying welcome.
Yeah, this is Mr. Zion. I'm calling you from Port Harcourt.
Go ahead.
I've followed series of the videos of the sex lady, and indeed I am not impressed with her actions. There are better ways you could have gone or to handle this issue. One, why don't you talk with the family of the guy or the husband? Two, why don't you go through the court again? To be honest, she's just blackmailing FFA. We are not taking care of our children. They are suffering. They are malnourished. I don't know if you've been giving them food. They caught on the face of these. All these are blackmails. I wish the court will not be sure what she's even doing right now. Court will not attend to her. And that is what I'm saying tomorrow. There is no reason for divorce in any marriage. There is no reason or no issue that cannot be discussed by both parties. No matter how threatening whatever, you can take a little break, stay keep in touch, resolve the issues, and take care of your family. Now, where she is right now, she's hungered. That is what we suggest. She can't pay her bills. She can't meet up demand. She's only looking for ways to get more money.
Let me interject there, Mr. Zion. Now, you mentioned first, initially, that, there are better ways to go about this. My question really is, what if she has explored those options and nothing came out of it? What if she has spoken to family? What if she has, as a matter of fact, she did say that there is a court, paper serving that she has access to the children. The court demanded, but powers that be are refusing her to see her children. So in such a case, what would you have her do?
In our video, she never mentioned that. That she have access or she tried to access through all these means or medium, and they were all blockades. She never mentioned them. If she would have accessed those mediums, she would have mentioned it either as a bypass in one of those videos which she's making. And now coming on social media, she's even worsening the issue. The social media cannot help her. They can only abuse FFK for our kids or our concern. Don't forget, FFK is also present on social media. It's so abreast of information and things going on. So she should get her family members, go meet the FFK family, discuss this issue. There is nothing that cannot be discussed. Communicate your matter. All these accusations, abuse will not help. And the children, honestly, they need their mom. The children need their mom. No other mother, not even our Queen Elizabeth, can take care of those kids more better than she that is a biological mother to those children. So I want to beg her, off your video, whatever media stunts, meet FFK, meet the family members, also meet prominent people in that state and in that community. You want to tell me that the governor of FFK state will hear this matter? If you will not call FFK, come, my son, come, look at what your wife is saying. Discussions and negotiations are a permanent means to settle crises. There is no reason for divorce under the surface of the earth. Couples should learn to discuss matters and resolve them amicably. Mrs. Zion.
Mrs. Zion, thank you very much for your thoughts. Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon, Gabby.
You're welcome.
I'll go straight to the point. Life happens. And like you pointed out, they turned out very well, all lovey-dovey, and they didn't quite anticipate this. For me, as an individual, I've learned to anticipate scenarios. I look end to end as much as I can. So what's the best that can happen? What's the worst that can happen? I even engage my spouse in this conversation. Like if something happens to us now, what happens to the children? And she told me straight up. I was shocked, but it was a reality. And she told me that she knows I love my children very much. So the first thing she will do is deny me custody of the children and deny me access to the children. I was shocked, but it's a reality. And we're not nearly divorcing anytime soon, but it's a reality. And I had that somewhere, whether she was joking or she was serious, but it's been said. And then I've sampled opinions here and there. You have people who are maybe separated or separating and all that, and it's a mindset. You know, oh, no woman can take care of my children better than me, and I want to keep custody. But the question is economics. Nobody's even thinking about that. And, you know, in thinner climes, like we like to say, social welfare is a major issue. The truth is, it's a lie to think that nobody can take care of your children better than you. There are people who are naturally intentional about parenting, and so if you leave your children with them, they become better, which is why, of course, some parents give birth to children and dump them in the boarding houses. Of course, that's probably with some mindset that the teachers there, the school authority has a better system to manage their children than them. So there are people who can take care of your children better than you, especially for unintentional parents, especially for careless parents. Okay, but then we need to anticipate these things, like I said earlier, and begin to think end to end. But then it's not called for really, because what is important, it is a crime for you to keep custody of children you cannot fend for. So when you want to seize those children and deny their parents, maybe the significant other was the economic powerhouse and all of that, and then you want to deny the person custody and just keep collecting money. It's a crime. Do you have the capacity actually to provide paternal support, maternal support for the children at the same time? Okay, divorce could happen. I mean, it's the way of life. We can't stop it. Okay, we can't even force couples to stay together if they really don't want to stay together. The divorce court could delay their separation to a larger extent, but the divorce court still doesn't even have a right to support. I mean, what if it's at the expense of someone's life? What if there's a right to life and all that? There are other deeper issues that we must consider, for which you just look at them and think it's better off that they are apart. What were the circumstances that even brought them together? Were they forced together? Was it their wish? Was it not their wish? Okay, people change over time. But what is important is there should be a proper design. Even with the divorce court, okay, there should be some bit of insistence on custody, and proper terms and guidelines should be stipulated. eventually you fail to grant access or allow access to the children from your partner or otherwise, then this is the punishment. Okay, if you fail to take care of them like you should, this is the punishment. If you're going to get married again, these are the terms and conditions. The divorce court and other social welfare schemes can better guide us. Okay, we have the churches, we have advisors everywhere. Who's advising us for crying out loud? The truth of the matter is that sometimes we're so spontaneous in our decisions. We don't think through life as we should, and we feel it's just easy because of my strange urge. I'm attracted to another woman. I'm tired of my wife, and then I jump on the woman without thinking about, what lies in wait for the children. And that's half-baked thinking. And then eventually it becomes, I'm in a relationship for sport, and then the children are so careless, and then we begin to raise miscreants. Okay, mishaps to society, who are another kind of gunpowder, another danger waiting to happen. So these are social issues. Even before we go into parenting or before we go into relationships or marriage, we should be a little more calculated. We should come to terms with the reality of life, that life happens. And if life happens in a certain way, how do we handle that? If you can answer this question in the days of our courtship, our relationship, when things are sweet, or in our honeymoon days when things are sweet, because hey, Gabby, watch this. Every marriage, I say this again, every marriage is a potential divorce statistic. I say it again. Every marriage is a potential divorce statistic. Divorce can happen to any marriage if we're not careful. So we have to be careful, we have to be intentional, and it's not one party. It's a two-party system. We have to discuss it. We have to discuss our weak link areas. We have to discuss the gray areas and find fitting ways to fix them. Otherwise, the marriage will not work. It will collapse before our eyes, no matter how sweet we are.
But here's the thing. In reality, people do not have these conversations while courting. You see, and like you mentioned, that's where the bulk of the problems lie. We do not have these kind of conversations, while we court. So how can we get people to be more aware of the realities of life when it comes to marriage? Because if these conversations actually do happen during dating and courtship, just maybe, at the rate at which such incidences happen would reduce. But sadly, that's not the case. We're carried away by, the butterflies in the tummy, by the beauty of, dating and courtship. And we do not have these nitty-gritty, conversations that we ought to have. So how can we get us as people to become more aware of the responsibility called marriage while courting?
Yeah, it's a beautiful question you asked. I'll tell you, I'll use a personal example. I courted my wife for quite a while. And for the length of the courtship, we sat down and we said no sex. Because sex is a beautiful thing, but if it's poorly timed, it could be disastrous. Sex is actually a big distraction to relationships. Okay, and the moment sex comes into the relationship, that's all you want to do. You can almost not find that time to engage and really discuss meaningfully. And so a lot of people feel it's an entire life. So we have time to talk about everything. There's really no time. 50 years is no time. 100 years together is no time if you're not really intentional. So what am I saying? Every lady should be armed with a bullet. Every man should be armed with his bullet. And so courtship is like a season of negotiation and reconciliation. What's the need for me? I must have fun in my marriage. You must have fun in your marriage. What does it take to make me happy? What does it take to keep me happy? What is your contribution? How will you add value to my life? What value are you bringing to the table? Let's sit down and discuss. He wants to touch you, wants to kiss you. Okay, wait first. Let's sit down and discuss these issues. And so at that point, when he's hungry for you, when he's on fire for you, he's got to talk. Okay? Beyond the beauty, beyond everything, let's talk. Let's always talk. And you get down with one talk session, it's 2 hours, you leave, bye-bye, you come back 2 hours. You must create that plan. I like to talk about, look, we have building plans when we want to build. How many of us have marriage plans when we want to go into a marriage? We should sit down as young people. The churches should begin to teach it. The religious houses should begin to come up with this orientation. Young people need to engage. They need to know that this is a life, and you spend more time with your partner than with your parents, probably. Okay, because at 25 you're married, you live 25 years with your parents. But you're going to be living 50 years and 70 years with this man, with this total stranger. And your balance in your life together must add up. You're strangers. You must find yourselves out. advance. Those things are distractions. So you realize that the moment you find it to talk, you have quarrels, you have disagreements, but you disagree to agree. If at the point of courtship you can't deal and you're not compatible, there are red flags that are raised. If you can't cope with those red flags, brother, sister, it's time to move. I can't cope with this. I was speaking with a lady last week who said, look, the guy was like this, and I couldn't cope with it. I saw scenarios of worse tendencies in marriage, and I had to leave. And I applauded her for doing that. People should be courageous enough to say, look, that guy stands to say, I must not be married. Marriage is not an end to life. Marriage is not a beginning and end in itself. I mustn't get married. I think this pride, this pride and shame thing from society is getting more young people into disaster. Marriage is a beautiful thing. Everyone should get married, but you mustn't get married. And it's not a shameful thing. I'd rather you stay single and held up to your glory and dignity as an individual than that you got married and got messed up. Look, marriage could be a scam. Those cases where you get married to someone who dumps himself on you, doesn't add any value to your life, and you just keep taking care of him, he can't even run his own life. So they might want to get married to. How well is he running his life? The lady you want to get married to, what are decisions like? How well is she running her life? Then she jumps himself, and now he jumps himself on you, and then you begin to drag on a lot of people in marriage who are like wheelbarrows. They might be loaded with content, but they don't move on to push them. So it becomes so difficult. You're pushing yourself, you're pushing somebody else, because you miss that moment of courtship when you really needed to talk and keep talking. And the more you talk, but guess what? You're fine-tuning the future, and you're buying the future for yourself and for the destinies of your unborn children. That's my thinking.
Amazing. Thank you very much for your contribution to the conversation. Lots have been said already, but I'd like to hear your voice, that is. On WhatsApp, Elder Chile Edwin says, the FFK marriage issue with the wife is a mere expensive fun, entertaining those who may want to toe their line of a little get together and a little separate. What the society needs now is to preach tolerance for marriages, because the consequences of broken marriages on the society is more dangerous than this joke between FFK and the wife. The trauma that the children pass through and the kind of life in the future that they will give back to the society will be horrible. Unfortunately, this is a kind of gift we get from the likes. It's quite disappointing that marriages today are being toyed with something that never happened when our parents transported wives from the villages to us in the township. All right, Elder Chile Edwin, thank you very much for your contributions. Good afternoon.
Hello, Gabby.
You're welcome.
How are you doing today?
Very well.
Okay, thank you. This is Casey. I'm calling from GRA, Port Harcourt.
Go ahead.
Okay, Gabby, see, the problem is that it's only in this our part of the world, in Africa in particular, in Nigeria here, where it's as if somebody does not get married, the person has committed a crime. It becomes a taboo. Village people start reminding you when they got married. The mother will tell you, I was 30, I was 25 when I got married. The father will tell you, I was 16, I was 20 when I got married. As if there is a law from heaven or from any traditional book that everybody must marry. It doesn't happen like that in the Western world. You can't see that in America, in Canada, and in UK. That is why people are suffering. Because women in particular, they put them under undue pressure. Well, marry, if you don't marry, you'll be a disgrace to the family, you'll be a disgrace. It's not all those things are rubbish.
And so people are not asking the right questions because of this pressure.
So you marry somebody and put in the house, you turn the person into a punching bag. Turn the person into an errand girl. Turn the person into a rag. It doesn't make sense. I had a story of somebody who pays his so-called CLC 1 million naira to go and buy a bus, the vehicle. The man carried the money, bought the vehicle, then after some months, crashed the vehicle. The girl again brought another 400,000 and just to this guy to go and repair the bus. The guy paid the money, sold the bus, and even is posting the girl to ledger, not even accepting the marriage terms again. Doesn't want to marry the girl again. And this girl was planning to take this boy to buy. So tomorrow they say women are not good. Women don't support men. Women are stingy. Women are selfish. But here is a woman that is spending her own money to give a man. And yet, you now go and dissolve a marriage. You don't allow the woman to have access to her own children. It's not wickedness. Where is Fida? Where Where is the association of women lawyers? Where are they? What are they doing about this whole thing? Why is this kind of thing happening in this country? It should not go and it should not continue. Civil society should speak up. Women society, women groups should speak up and condemn this act. The man that is barring the mother to the children from seeing the children should be arrested for God's sake. There are laws in Nigeria. Arrest the man. Let him be done. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your thoughts. So time is up and we have to wrap up now. A final comment on WhatsApp says, your caller really spoke well. I am one that entered a marriage where I'm being held back by my partner and I wish we have had some discussions. I really wonder what you mean by that. I'd like that you explain further. But thank you regardless for joining this conversation. It doesn't end here. Let's keep the conversation going in our small circles, in our circle of friends, at our offices, social gatherings. Let's keep the conversation going so that we can, perhaps begin to change the narrative as we go. Don't go away. 1 o'clock happens in 3 minutes. The news update, and right after, further conversations right here on the sunny side. You know how we do it. Don't go away.